Hey yo, what's up guys? It's your boy here, Ken. Um, don't know why the picture quality is like fuzzy right now. Shouldn't be. Um, Couple things I want to talk about in professional wrestling. NXT moving to Tuesday nights, as well as the upcoming takeover show. Peacock, um, and also AEW's ratings lately. And just kind of like their direction moving forward. So this is what I'm going to start off with. I'll start with NXT. Um, so about like maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, there have been rumors, mumbling that NXT will be moving quite possibly to Tuesday nights as early or as soon, excuse me, as like the second week of April, which would be like the week following WrestleMania or the week after WrestleMania. Um, I now it's expected to um, hear news of this announcement. This announcement has been yet to it's yet to be announced officially because this is still just rumor mill. But let's just play devil's advocate at this point and just kind of say it's leaning on being true. This rumor's leaning on being true, just because so many sources, valuable sources at that, are all echoing the same sentiment that NXT is moving to Tuesday nights. I think this would be great for NXT, quite honestly. I know since the rebirth of NXT, Wednesday night has been NXT's night, but since NXT has now converted into a 2 hour format on live television, and now that you have AEW being the opposing program in that same time slot on that same day, NXT has not been doing well ratings wise. That's I mean it is what it is. They have not been doing well ratings wise. I think they cracked like maybe a million like one time. And I think that was when Keith Lee won the NXT title and they got leaked out. I think that because it was taped, I think that was the only NXT show that did like a million views or something like that. But regardless to say, since moving to Wednesday or coming on live on Wednesday nights for 2 hours in the exact same time slot as AEW, NXT has not been doing well in the ratings. Um, Over the last, I mean, I saw the ratings this week, the ratings last week, and the ratings the week before that. The last 3 weeks in a row, NXT's ratings have been like mid 500 to 600,000, 100,000 views, an audience, and I'm going to get on AEW momentarily. Trust me, to speak about that. But NXT just has not been doing really good. And I think right now, person, where some people kind of feel like NXT's kind of lost some of its luster or what have you. I think NXT right now is kind of hot right now, with the inclusion of well, the Undisputed Era, the breakup of the Undisputed Era, and things they got going on there. Karrion Kross returning and him challenging for the heavyweight title. Um, the acquisition of LA Knight, who I think is going to do good things there, and some other guys I can't think of right now that are stepping up in NXT. I feel like over the past month, NXT is kind of starting to find their niche. I feel like watching the guys and even the girls, they feel hungry. Like they, and maybe because it's WrestleMania season, so they're all kicking it up a notch. But they definitely feel hungry. So I think at this time right now, the energy feels right for NXT, and if they move to Tuesday nights, I think it'd be great. I mean, it won't be great for Impact Wrestling because they already are not doing too well in the ratings themselves. I mean, or they have been, but Impact Wrestling's got to step up at this point. Should NXT move to Tuesday nights, which I think would be good for them. I mean, even if the ratings may not reflect it, I think Impact Wrestling needs to definitely change some things within their creative process because I've been watching what they've been doing, and outside of like the heavyweight title picture and like the rise of Moose, Impact as a whole, there's some stumbling blocks in their product. So maybe NXT moving to Tuesday nights will force that for them. I also think NXT would be a nice palette to wash away the crappiness that is Monday Night Raw. For the fans that stick around and that do watch Raw in its entirety for 3 hours on a Monday night, NXT will be a nice cleansing palette to wash the filth and dirt away that Raw gives you wrestling fans who watch it on Monday nights. I personally can't do it anymore like I used to. My schedule just really doesn't permit it as much, even though it's lightened up a lot now. But even still, I always have it recorded on the DVR, but Raw, I will fast forward to the parts that I wanted that interest me, or I'll watch the highlights on YouTube. That's how Raw gets me now, because the ratings just gotten that bad. But despite all that, so yeah, that's the thing for NXT moving to Tuesday nights. I hope it's a good thing for them. I think they need to dominate a new night, which is Tuesday. And then just going into takeover in the next week and a half. To me, you know what? It's funny that I'm looking at this right now because I was gonna pull up the match card for NXT Takeover. Um, I just noticed this in my group chat. My friend Mark just sent me a breaking news announcement. I don't know when he sent this. I think he sent this today at 4 p.m. and I'm just looking at this right now. Like, I swear to God. Impact Wrestling is moving to Thursday nights on April 8th. What? I was just talking about how Impact Wrestling might not need might need to up their game going up against NXT, but they're moving to Thursdays. Wow. That is funny. Hold on, wait a minute. This is coming directly from Impact Wrestling. They're moving to return to its traditional Thursday night time slot at 8 p.m. beginning April 8th on Access. So that's right around the corner. That's like close a week and a half from today. Wow. Wow. That's funny. But you know what though? In order for Impact Wrestling to just announce that they're returning to Thursday nights, because I don't know when was the last time Impact Wrestling or the TNA brand, now known as Impact, was on Thursdays. I can't even remember what was the last time Thursday night was their night. 2010, 11, 12 maybe? Or maybe, I'm sorry, let me go further back. Maybe 2016, 17. I'm thinking. Yeah, I'm thinking 2017. Yeah, because I think Tuesday was when they first got put on the Access, which was like a year ago. They moved to Tuesday nights. But I'm saying all this to say, here's why this is important. Because if Impact just made an announcement that they're moving to Thursdays, that lets you know that they're aware of the rumors as well of NXT. And even though we have not heard anything from WWE, at least at the time of me recording this right now, that lets you know for a fact NXT is definitely going to be moving to Tuesday nights. We just haven't heard anything yet officially from WWE. But it definitely strengthened those rumors of NXT moving to Tuesdays if Impact just announced that they're going to move to Thursdays completely, being wanting to be unimposed from NXT. Because if Impact stayed on Tuesday, Impact already gets low viewers anyway. if they went up against NXT on Tuesdays, they would have been crushed. Now NXT may not be crushing AEW in the ratings, but they'll certainly crush Impact Wrestling in the ratings if they went head to head. Not that it would be an easy, a difficult feat anyway for them to do. But wow, okay. Well, you and I guys, I guess we both learned something new tonight. As I record this video. But back to NXT though. The card, to me, this is the most stacked NXT takeover. I feel. Since I don't even know when. It's been a minute since I've seen a card this stacked. The card is so stacked. There are two nights. Two nights. Now, obviously, they can probably they'll probably squeeze in maybe another match or two. But looking for either night or both nights. But looking at this, I would think the card's pretty full for both nights. I couldn't see them adding another match or two to either of these nights. Night one especially, but we'll get into it because I think it's a solid card. So for night one of Takeover Stand and Deliver, we have Io Shirai versus Raquel Gonzalez for the NXT Women's Championship. This is a feud that's been building for a bit. It's okay. Look forward to it. Walter versus Tommaso Ciampa for the NXT UK title. Walter is a goddamn beast. I think yesterday, they announced that Walter was UK champion for 700 days or 712 days, something like that. But it was over 700 days, the longest NXT UK champion in history. And at this point, I probably would say he's probably the longest reigning champion. Not even probably. He is the longest reigning champion throughout the entire WWE brand banter right now, hands down. I just wish Walter would kind of like be a little bit more open to living in the States or traveling in the States, because I think the guy could tear it up on the main roster. But then again, if you look at how some of the guys that have been called up, been treated on the main roster or booked at least or kind of forgotten, I'd probably want to, stay in NXT UK too and just dominate the entire brand. But yeah, Walter's a beast. I don't see him dropping into Tommaso Ciampa. I think it'll be a hell of a match. But this is a match that was kind of, I feel like, built at the last minute or kind of late coming in. But I feel like this is going to be probably match of the night for night one. Then we've got a three-way tag team match for the vacant NXT tag team titles. We have Legado del Fantasma versus MSK versus the Grizzled Young Vets. The NXT tag titles were made vacant because the current champions got injured last Wednesday in their match against Tommaso Ciampa and Finn Balor. Legitimately, they suffered an injury. So these three teams are going to compete for the vacant tag team titles. This could be match of the night too, though. MSK, I favor in winning this because they won the Dusty Tag Team Classics. Right out of the gate, these guys have been hot. They're fun to watch. They were fun to watch as the Rascals in Impact Wrestling. They definitely have not, or at least 2/3 of them, left Impact. But they have definitely not slowed down in their style and their excitement that they bring into a match. And then we also have a Gauntlet Eliminator match. So it was announced next Wednesday there's going to be a Battle Royal. And the last, I think, 4 or 6 men are going to be in a Gauntlet Eliminator match, which will be on night one of TakeOver. The winner of that match, of those 6 competitors, will face Joey Gargano for the North American title on night 2 of TakeOver. So depending on the participants or the 6 participants for next Wednesday, this could be a banger too. Then you fast forward on to night 2 of TakeOver. You've got Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly in an unsanctioned match. This should be fun. This is a really good hot feud for sure. Adam Cole turning on Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong and breaking up the band, you could say. Which I think at this point it's about time. The Undisputed Era have done everything you can think of in NXT, and they have dominated the tag team, main event scene for like 3 years now. So at this point, this is going to be like a goodbye for Adam Cole, and Adam Cole is going to move up to the main roster. But I think Kyle O'Reilly is going to win this one for sure. We have Joey Gargano defending his North American title against the winner of the gauntlet match from the previous night, whoever that will be. I'm kind of wishing Gargano would lose the title because he's another one too, like Adam Cole. Him, Adam Cole, and Tommaso Ciampa, they're kind of just like stagnant in NXT. They're just kind of like there because they've done everything there, so they're just like, yeah, we're gonna stay here. I think Gargano needs to move up. I hope Gargano loses. I hope he loses. I hope his faction, The Way, which is kind of crappy faction in my opinion, I hope it breaks up and I hope he gets to the main roster. So I'm rooting for whoever wins on night one to beat Gargano. This is a fun one here. We have Santanos Escobar, who's the leader of the Legado del Fantasma, versus Jordan Devlin in a ladder match for the NXT Cruiserweight title. Now, if you guys watch the product, you already know Jordan Devlin won the NXT title. He got injured. They never stripped him of the title, but they did crown a new NXT champion, which was Santanos Escobar. He's been killing it. To me, I think he's been rejuvenated, in my opinion, since being NXT champion. He's been exciting to watch. During that time, Jordan Devlin kind of came back, but he's just been the Cruiserweight champion in the UK branch of NXT. And they've kind of kept them separate. So I was like, wait, so we have two NXT Cruiserweight champions? And I'm like, shouldn't Devlin, like, claim that he's the legit champion because he never lost the title? He just got hurt or what have you. And for the longest time, I thought, like, they're not going to do this. So it was kind of like out of sight, out of mind. Well, the past 2 weeks and then just yesterday, Shawn Michaels tosses a ladder between the two men. And we're going to get, a ladder match to merge both Cruiserweight titles to determine a singular NXT Cruiserweight champion. Definitely, this is reminiscent of the classic Razor Ramon, Shawn Michaels ladder match to prove who is the real Intercontinental Champion. So this is definitely a page. They kind of a little nod. They played to that definitely with Michaels throwing out the ladder last night in the segment with these two in it. I'm kind of rooting for Santos Escobar. I think he's been on a roll as NXT champion. He looks great. His faction that surrounds him, they've been fun to watch in NXT. They really have. They're definitely a strong Latino faction that I dig. So I'm kind of rooting for Santos Escobar for this. And then we get on to the main event of night 2, NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver. We get Karrion Kross versus Finn Balor. Finn Balor is a guy I think has really benefited greatly coming back to NXT. Since him being champion again, he's really reinvented himself and just been a dominant champion for sure. His matches with Kyle O'Reilly were, in my opinion, like some match of the year candidate matches, especially his first match with Kyle O'Reilly. His Balor's match with Pete Dunne, excellent. His match with Adam Cole he had last week, excellent. The guy's been he's been putting in the work as world champ. Now you have Karrion Kross coming in, who you can say is probably the most interesting star that WWE has right now in their brand, NXT in particular. He never really lost his title. He won the title, and literally the same night he won it, he had to vacate it pretty much because he legitimately suffered a separated shoulder. Thankfully, he came back pretty quickly. I'm rooting for Karrion Kross on this. I think the guy deserves it. I think life kind of pulls you in weird ways because the match he had with Keith Lee, it was an okay match, but the finish felt kind of flat for me. And I don't know if it was planned that way, but the finish just felt kind of flat where it was just like, oh, I'm shocked that Karrion Kross, they gave him the belt already, considering he's only been in here for like, a month and a half. But I don't know. It didn't feel epic. I think having Balor as the dominant champion he's been, him being a little bit smaller, a little bit more flexible, and don't get me wrong, Keith Lee can move for a big guy, but Balor is a lot smaller, so he can kind of bounce around a little bit more. Um, with a guy like Karrion Kross, I think they have a much cleaner match and or execution, I should say, in their match, and I think should Karrion Kross wins, which I think he should win, it'd be more of I think the second win would be more memorable than his first. Um, and even though he got injured, shortly after his first title win, which kind of tainted, I guess you could say somewhat, but I definitely dig this feud. So Karrion Kross, I'm rooting for this all the way. So that's my take on NXT Takeover Nights 1 and 2. Night 1 is going to air live on Wednesday. That's going to be interesting to see what AEW books that night to oppose that show, because I'm definitely watching that. NXT is always a show I watch the next day. Or if I feel up for it, I'll watch it right after Dynamite. But Dynamite I always watch live on Wednesday nights. I might switch that channel come night 1 for TakeOver. So it'll be definitely interesting to see what Dynamite does to oppose that. And then night 2 for TakeOver is going to be on the Peacock streaming service, which already I'm hearing bad things about. The Peacock service, WWE, they made a lot of money off this deal, but I'm hearing already. I don't have it. One of my friends has the WWE Network, and he shares his account with me. So he has to transfer over to Peacock. He hasn't yet, but he will in time before WrestleMania. But I'm just already hearing things already for Peacock. Already Peacock, they're censoring certain content. They don't have all the library right away. Mostly as far back as the furthest that you can go in the library right now is 2008. They don't have any of the WCW, ECW, or WWF old pay-per-views. They're editing a lot of content out that they find offensive. So that makes a lot of people wonder, if wrestling fans are already asking, Attitude Era was kind of raunchy. It was a little ratchet. Even the Ruthless Aggression Era had some moments of its ratchetness, which they've censored 2 or 3 things from the Ruthless Aggression Era already. Kind of makes you wonder, are they going to censor other things, especially in the Attitude Era, where things were kind of thoughty and a little ratchet back then, or the Ruthless Aggression Era? Are they going to block out Chris Benoit? Who knows? It sucks, and they announced that, or WWE, I guess, said that they won't have everything fully transferred over until by the end of summer, so like August. That's terrible. Also, hearing people complain about the fact that you can't, when you watch a pay-per-view, a live pay-per-view, you have to watch it live, like right then and there. You can't rewind back. You can't go back to the beginning. It doesn't have a pause feature. You can't skip forward. You can't skip back. You have to watch it live as it's airing. That is some bullshit. How is it that the WWE Network has those features, but Peacock doesn't? That makes no sense. And not even the WWE Network, but you look at other streaming services, HBO Max, Hulu, Disney Plus, Netflix, they all have a skip, fast forward, pause feature or a playback feature. How is it that Peacock does not have that? And how is it that if you're streaming live content like pay-per-views, you're not giving viewers the option to go back from the beginning? Because not everyone's going to be at home at 6 o'clock on the dot to watch a WWE pay-per-view or a WrestleMania. They might be an hour behind. Some people might want to watch it later because they're doing other things on the weekend. Some people work on the weekend and might miss it or miss some of it. So they want to come back and watch it, from the beginning. They don't care about being 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours behind, whatever. to not have that feature sucks. And I find it very interesting, or I will find it very interesting to see how many wrestling fans are going to migrate from the WWE Network into this new system with Peacock, and how many of them are going to stay. How many of them are going to stay, and how many of them are going to just try it, notice the significant amount of downgrade in terms of features and the incomplete library and the censored content. How many of those subscribers are going to bounce? I do wonder that. I know for Vince McMahon, the company, they made a shit ton of money off this deal. But in terms of us, the wrestling consumers, I feel like we get the short end of the stick on this, honestly. I think that sucks. Now, maybe it could get better, by summer, by the time they have the full library, they might change, tweak some things. But even still, Peacock's not like brand spanking new. Peacock's been out for like a year already, maybe even a little bit longer than that. How do they not have that feature? How is it that WWE, and as they're negotiating and transferring their content over into this new streaming service, that they have not had these talks with Universal and their streaming network and Peacock? Like, does WWE just say, like, here's all our content, we're migrating our stuff over into your system. How you guys run your system, whatever, we don't fucking care because we got our money. Is that how they doing it? Because that's trash. That's legitimately like trash. We'll see. But these are a lot of the complaints I've been hearing already. And Fastlane was the beta tester for that. And I think it sucks. I think it's trash. And it's funny that WWE, I feel like they kind of rushed this. And I think they rushed this for WrestleMania. They did. They rushed this for WrestleMania because they wanted WrestleMania to be the big first grand pay-per-view, even though Fastlane was the first pay-per-view technically, but Fastlane was also airing on the network simultaneously as Peacock. But in terms of that full, complete migration, that big pay-per-view to get people in, WrestleMania. So I feel like they WWE kind of rushed into this. I don't think they worked out all the kinks and how they're going to transfer the content over and stuff like that. Trash. Anyway, moving on. Not WWE, AEW, All Elite Wrestling, Dynamite. Let me get a swig of this really quick. Dynamite. Last night AEW had a good show. However, I looked at their ratings today, and their ratings were 757,000, somewhere around there. That kind of raised a concern for me, because I then looked at the ratings last week, and it was around that same number, or 767,000, or 767,000, 100,000. And then the week before that, it was, was it 2 weeks ago? Was the post show that came out of Revolution? That was also pretty low. That was like in the 700,000s. Kind of concerning for AEW. I think a lot of wrestling fans, and I'm not even talking about the AEW hardcores, I think there are some wrestling fans that gave AEW a chance, and AEW kind of fucked themselves over a little bit, not gonna lie. And I think it all started with the Revolution pay-per-view, when they botched that finish on the sprinklers, the fireworks. I think that hurt AEW. I knew it was going to hurt them, but I didn't think it would be a lasting effect. And fast forward about 2.5 to like 3 weeks now since that pay-per-view, I really feel like the stench of that pay-per-view left a bad taste in people's mouths, and that stench just lingered for 3 weeks, and that reflects on the ratings that have just they've peaked. And I feel like AEW's peaked. They've peaked at 750, 760K views. They peaked. That's not good. Now, despite, demo and blah, 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 and TNT are happy, fine. But as a fan, looking at that, I don't think that is good at all. And it's weird because the Go Home show was an excellent Go Home show leading into that pay-per-view. They scored like 910,000 views with the when Shaq wrestled. Now, obviously, a lot of that had to do with Shaq being promoted on that show against his match against Cody Rhodes. But they had a pretty strong number leading in that pay-per-view. And then once that pay-per-view happened, they went from 910,000 and they just dropped to like 750,000. And it's been that same number for the last 2 weeks since. You could wonder too, because the argument's always been the reason why AEW's ratings kind of fluctuate up and down is because you have NXT. NXT, for a lot of people will say that, it's Wednesday Night War, or you have the people from NXT trashing Dynamite and people from Dynamite trashing NXT. Let's be real. It's all the same fucking audience. The same people, the same audience that NXT caters to is the same goddamn audience that AEW caters to. And that is the most hardcore of hardcore wrestling fans, which at this point is a very small and smaller niche market. That's getting smaller and smaller. Same audience, but they just like their different things, or their attention is just split and divided. Point is, NXT opposing AEW, their views, that's always been the talk for the last year and a half that these two shows have been airing against each other. Now that NXT is going to be moving over to Tuesday nights, we're really going to see if AEW on Wednesday if they can crack 1 million, keep it that way, or if the numbers that have been reflecting for these last 3 weeks, is that the real audience, the true audience that watches AEW unopposed of NXT? Is that the true audience? If that is a scary thing, and to me, I'm thinking that is the first red flag second red flag. The first red flag was a whole controversy thing with concussion thing with Matt Hardy. That was terrible. That never should have happened. This would be the second red flag for AEW in the back of my mind, because that's not cool. That's not cool. So it'll be interesting to see when NXT goes over to Tuesdays if AEW have still floating around that 750, 760K views. That means AEW has peaked. That means AEW's audience has not grown. That means AEW's audience won't grow. If their audience can and won't grow, despite what TNT are saying, and despite TNT giving them more money, and they got, they're locked in for a 3-year deal, I feel TNT, and which they would have every right to, they could do a whole WCW situation again, where they say, hey, you know what? The demo's good, but your viewing ratings, you're unopposed, you're still staying in this rut, your audience isn't growing, your television audience isn't growing. Yeah, let's scale down on the budget for AEW. Scaling down for the budget for that means canceling some shows. Canceling some shows meaning also at some point will lead to canceling you. We don't need that. We don't need another a failure of WCW or ECW or, they're still kicking, but even TNA. We need an alternative that's on primetime television that does well, and for a place for talent to go, place for talent to thrive, and for new stars to be made. The industry needs AEW. Wrestling fans can have their opinions all day about Dynamite being WCW 2.0 or TNA 2.0, whatever. You have a choice to like what you like, watch what you watch, as well as what you don't. But for the wrestling business and for wrestling fans, just to have something different. Yes, NXT is different, but NXT is still under the WWE banner. It is still the WWE brand. Even though that is the best brand WWE has, it is still a product of WWE. You need, the industry and the fans need an alternative that is different from WWE. Or not even just different, but just not WWE. That has the financial backing, but it's not WWE. We have that now after 20 freaking years since Nitro, since WCW. We have that now. AEW Dynamite needs to be successful. And I feel like that pay-per-view that they had, the ending of that pay-per-view, was a stench that has really hurt them in the ratings. And they've put on some pretty good shows. This week I thought was a excellent show. Darby Allin's been putting in that work as TNT champions. Have some great back-to-back matches this week and last week. They're moving along. And even last week, the main event with the hardcore match with the women, Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, excellent women's match, and that was an excellent match. And that episode of Dynamite still got 750K views. Not that great. So this is just a concern that I have as a wrestling fan and as a fan of AEW. I really think that pay-per-view left a stench in a lot of fans' mouths, where they spent that money because they went on record too that Revolution ended up being the most successful or the highest paid non-WWE pay-per-view since 1999. They made like $6 or $7 million off that pay-per-view. That's the most successful, financially at least, regardless of what you think of what the pay-per-view had to offer. Revolution was the highest paid non-WWE pay-per-view since 1998 or 99. That's amazing. And obviously it's their highest paid pay-per-view ever. So they had people hooked. Like I said, that go home show was great. People that I know who were like not even fans of AEW were like, yo, I'm pretty hyped for this Revolution pay-per-view. But with AEW kind of fucking themselves over and building up the hype for a superstar that they signed, they hyped themselves up to the moon with that. And the talent, who was a good signing, but that talent not living up to the hype, disappointing people. Then you had the finish of that match. Or the conclusion, I should say, not the finish of the match, but the far gone conclusion at the end of that pay-per-view. That's the last thing people remember. And that fucking shit bombed. And then you had Tony Khan trying to backtrack and try to like cover up for it. Fans weren't having it. Because they went from 910,000 views to 750,000 views going pre and post pay-per-view. That's a significant drop. Mostly post pay-per-view shows are always high. When Dean Ambrose or Jon Moxley beat Jericho for the world title, I remember that post episode of Dynamite was like in the 900,000s. Because people wanted to see Jon Moxley as world champion. They wanted to know what happened after the pay-per-view. He beat Chris Jericho. You compare Revolution's post show of Dynamite of Revolution last year to this year, night and day. And I think that really turned off a lot of people. I think a lot of people who watched that Go Home show were probably first-time buyers. Seeing Shaq there, who I think was a great publicity stunt to get some of those viewers in, was probably first-time buyers. And say, hey, you know what? This is pretty cool. Let me check out this pay-per-view. They ordered the pay-per-view. Pay-per-view was kind of wasn't terrible pay-per-view. It was an enjoyable pay-per-view. But there were some kinks in it. And then you had the ending that happened. And then people were like, you know what? Done. I check out. That might have been their only chance right there. Their first and only chance could have been that pay-per-view. And they're like, nope, check out. I don't care what happens to this post-show or anything else. And that's why I feel like that's hurt AEW. And it might still hurt them for the next couple of weeks. So between that and NXT moving to Tuesday nights, it's going to be interesting to see what AEW's ratings will be for the duration of 2021. At least like the first 4 to 5 weeks are going to be really telling for Dynamite ratings wise. Once NXT move on another day and they're unopposed. Sorry for making this a long video. It's just a lot of stuff I wanted to talk about. Some good topics I feel were brought up. You guys let me know what you think in the box below. Do yourself a favor, hit that like button and subscribe. Let me know what your opinions on these topics that I mentioned about the NXT moving to Tuesday nights, NXT Takeover pay-per-view coming up next week, the Peacock app if you already have it. What do you like or dislike about it? Being crossing over from the WWE Network into Peacock, and then this whole ratings thing with AEW. Do you agree or disagree with my points? I'm here. Your thoughts about below. Do yourself a favor, hit that like button and subscribe. Peace out.